right, well, let's get this started. I really appreciate everybody coming out. Who knew we were going to have a storm right at 5 o'clock when everybody was supposed to be here? So we started a few minutes late just to see and make sure we were mindful of people that were rushing in. But we appreciate everyone being here. So this is our City Council committee meeting, and the main thing for tonight is our proclamation for our wrestling team. So wanted to from the city council side, we talk with Coach, who is your biggest fan, and every year you guys have amazing accomplishments that we want to recognize from a city standpoint. And I saw this today. I guess my Instagram knew that we were having this conversation today. So I had a Coach video of this really cute guy, and he was cheering his one of his students on. It was like doing all the things that you guys do as part of the process. And so it said, surround yourself with people that are happy when you succeed. And so we at the city council level just want to let you guys know that we are happy when you do well, and we may not be at all of your matches, but we're really proud of you when you do a great job. And we have some Devil Dogs on council, and so we just want to tell you how much we appreciate you. So we have a proclamation that I'll read in just a minute, and this basically says, from a city standpoint, that we're recognizing your accomplishments this year, and you've got some stars on here that we'll recognize as well. And then your coach has a proclamation for everyone to take with you. And so, again, just from a city council standpoint, we really appreciate all your hard work, and also to the parents who probably drive you to all the things and support you in everything that you do, so we appreciate that. If you'd like, when I call your name, if you want to come up here and we'll take some pictures, and then at the end we'll get the whole wrestling team a picture of all of us as well. So, whereas the Travelers Rest wrestling team had another stellar year, overall individual wrestlers on the team amassed a total of 458 varsity level wins, which kind of feels like a big deal. Is that an applause moment for that right there? Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. 458. Riley Broderick, J.T. Burns, Nate Hickey, you guys can come up here when I say your name, had over 30 wins. John Matt Stevens, Aiden Hicks, Mitch Knepp had over 40. Jackson McLeese had over 50 and now holds the single season win record for Travelers Rest at 57 varsity wins. Congratulations. Yeah. During the 23-24 season, head coach Ted Henderson was named, is it AAA? Is that what we're saying? Okay, AAA Region 3 Coach of the Year, and was also selected to represent 3A Upper State at South Carolina Wrestling Coaches Association North-South All-Star Wrestling event. Congratulations, Coach. We appreciate it. Yeah. Qualifying for state and earning all Greenville County team honors were Ace Evett, John Matt Stevens, Jackson McLeese, and Mitch Knepp. John Matt Stevens was a state semifinalist. Jackson finished fourth, and Mitch won the state championship. McLeese and Knapp also earned all-state honors. Lucas Tankersley was named Region Wrestler of the Year for the second year in a row. Do we have Lucas here? All right, football on it. There were 7 individual region champions: Jackson, John Matt, JT, Ace, Mitch, Lucas, and Noah Baker. The varsity duels team was the 3A Region 3 champion for the third time in 4 seasons. The team had 25 dual wins. The team had 3 junior varsity wrestlers qualify for JV State. Jordan Williams finished in the top 10. Peyton Burns and Nate Hickey both finished top 5. Congratulations, guys. The middle school wrestlers finished 3rd at sectionals out of 27 teams with 7 sectional qualifiers. Colton Sorsby, Corbin May. You guys here? You can stand up if you want. Don't be shy. Stand up. Corbin May, Hank Harris, Jr., Lorik Staton, Peyton Shepard, and Styles Stevens. They also had 4 state qualifiers. Hank Harris, top 10 in the state. Lorik Staton and Peyton Shepard both finished top 5, and Styles Stevens finished 3rd in the state. Congratulations. Now, therefore, I, Brandy Amadon, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Travelers Rest, South Carolina, would like to acknowledge and congratulate the achievements of these outstanding athletes and the pride they bring to our community. Congratulations, everyone. We appreciate it. All right, Coach, you want to make them come up here and get a picture? Or? Yeah.
maybe we can go this way and then move that over.
I feel like we should play like a prank song or something. Your song.
Watch the road, guys. Just be careful.
I have copies of the proclamation.
Now, you guys are welcome to stay, but you need to be warned that we're going to be talking about budget, and it's really
Hey.
exciting. Or we could take a little break, and you guys
Hang
can
on,
head
guys.
out.
Hang on 1 second. Hang on 1 second. I got a history lesson for y'all. Real quick. All right, and this is going to sting a little bit, but it's the truth, and it's going to give you something to shoot at. You know, for all you hear, for years and years and years, all you heard about for Greenville County Wrestling was East Side, East Side, East Side, right? Y'all hate them, don't you? Do you know why? Do you know why East Side colors are blue and gold? Anybody know? The very first, when East Side High School was first built, the very first athletic director is in the Hall of Fame right here at Traverse City High School, a guy named Harvey Tankersley. He was the athletic director over there at East Side High School. They stole our colors. I'm a devil dog. There's just a few of us, but I'm a devil dog. So when you line up against them, and they got that silly little grin on your face, you think, you got my colors. You got my colors. And just smack them down a little bit harder. But that's a fact. That gives you something to shoot for. They stole your colors. Eastside High School is blue and gold because of Travelers Rest.
Look,
Always remember that.
You got a proclamation and a history lesson.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank
You
you
can
guys
prove
so
it.
much for coming. We appreciate it.
But their athletic, the first athletic director they had, he's in the Hall of Fame right here in Travelers Rest. Sure is.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Make sure you get your proclamation from Coach.
I'm like saying thank you to nobody. Oh, I'm so sorry. I spread all my stuff and I was trying to get it out of their picture.
What? You knew that then, didn't you? Did you not know that?
I know Harvey Tankersley.
Yeah, he was
Miss
the,
Rice taught there too.
Hey,
Huh?
Dee.
Miss Rice taught there too.
yeah.
She was a teacher.
I see what you're doing with Nate. Last one, right?
Yeah, Harvey was.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thanks for coming.
was the sheriff.
Oh, really? Well, she probably knew that.
I didn't know
But
that.
that's why East Side's blue and gold, because of Harvey. Yeah.
Yeah,
What'd
I
she
didn't
say?
either.
You didn't know that?
She didn't know that
He was
the
from
AD,
here?
that he was
Yeah,
the
he was the first athletic director over, not here, over there.
before John Carlisle.
Yeah.
Did you ever know John Carlisle?
Yeah. They hired him over there for that job.
Thank you, Coach. We'll see you. Bye, Ted. Will somebody mind shutting that door for us, just in case you go?
Harvey Tankersley could still, to this day, he could still go out and wear people out on basketball court.
Yep.
I would also like for it noted on the record that my nephew was a part of that team, and he ignored me the whole time.
Oh, no, he didn't.
He did, yeah. I'm going to remember that at birthday time. It's okay. Nah, he's in middle school. I can't be cool right now.
My mean he's growing up too.
Ow. No, that was fun. Thank you guys so much. All right, so we've got call to order, proclamation. We will start with our Public Works Committee. Chair Lane, want to kick us off?
Sure. So present are myself, Sherry Mara, and Catherine James. Do I have a motion to approve the April 8th Public Works minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
Great. Director Tate.
Good evening. Just a couple updates. We have met with the Mountain Laurel Flower Garden. Shannon and I met with those a couple of weeks ago. We got a plan for the gazebo area. We're going to kind of phase that project in two different phases. Phase one is on schedule to start immediately. We're going to be adding some planters around the gazebo in that area, and in the fall in phase two, we're going to try to go back and add some hanging baskets and possibly upgrade the entrances with some more permanent plantings for that. Athens Park update, we have ordered an entire play set for that over there. That one's getting replaced. We're probably 8 to 10 weeks out on that. That was ordered last week. We're going to be doing some updates over there, painting the swing sets and such as that. I met this morning in a pre-con with a trail, the trail connector that's going over from Main Street over to the Y. They are hoping to get started in about a week and a half. They're going to phase that in I think 3 phases. Phase one is going to be over at the Y from Inspirational Way up to the Y. They're going to go ahead and finish that one. My understanding, that'll be the phase one. That'll be finished out. And then they're going to come back to Main Street while school's out and go from Main Street back to the Y. The guys have been working on restriping some of the city-owned parking lots. That's kind of a slow process, but it is getting done. So we've been working on that. Looking over the report, do you guys have any questions I could maybe address this time?
Just curious, how long to complete the trail connector?
Completion, they're hoping to be done by the end of the year, of this year, 2024. So late December is what they're planning. That was the completion date, weather dependent.
Okay. And thank you for meeting with the Mountain Laurel Flower Garden Club. We really appreciate their help and cooperation and getting our town even
Look forward to
more
working
beautiful.
with those ladies and
Uh-huh.
kind of building that relationship.
Does anyone on the committee have any questions for Director Tate? I have one question. So I noticed now in the parking lot across from TR's Oriental, first of all, do we know, have we talked with the owner and to develop that and better? Because I know we had in the past talked about.
Right. I don't think there's been any more conversation than what was had in the past, and my understanding, the property owner there was not in agreement to kind of what the city had presented. At that time, we have not made any contact. I understand that there may be a couple of safety issues in that parking lot, and I'm going to reach out to the property owner and see if we can get a resolution on that.
Because that was my second question. So I noticed now people are creating a third row, and I did see some cars driving on the trail to get around to that third row. So I didn't know if maybe if Greenville County Parks Department, or because they do have some, posts further down the trail. And I don't know if we could put any posts closer to where people are parking, or if they could do that, or just so cars won't drive on the trail to get around.
All right, I'm making a note. I will reach out to Ty with Greenville County Rec and see if we can't get a solution to that issue there as well.
Maybe we could reach out and just, because Shannon, I don't think you have talked with them at all, and just say hello and what are their plans? I mean, they were very nice. That just sounded like they didn't want to commit to anything long-term for that property. But, I mean, the fact that they're letting people park there for free and.
And I think they're going.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to make them upset.
Yeah.
In any way.
I mean, we were going to put
Definitely
some
not
money to
wouldn't
it
wanna
too
do
if
that.
they wanted that.
But I'll reach out to them and see. And I know that, I think it was Saturday, there were about 5 rows deep.
Where they,
from
yeah.
They had parked there. So I'll reach out to Ty and see if we can't do something about the couple of safety concerns that we have up there.
I know when people leave that one spot open, then cars, but it was last week, and those spots weren't open, or there was very limited, and I saw people kind of like, oh. So, okay. Any questions from the council?
I had 2 small things. One, thank you for being the sign police every political season in our Public Works guys. So thank you for that. And for the Ugata connection, and I don't know, we might not know the answer to this, but are they going to push them to cross over to the trail at the high school light? Okay.
It's going to be at the light at Henderson and Main Street. That's where they're going to make the crossover.
Oh, okay, the first one. Gotcha.
And
Okay.
there is already a crosswalk there. I think they're gonna restripe that, is my understanding.
Maybe we need to think about, because it is still 35 there. Maybe that's another opportunity to ask DOT to reduce the rest of the way.
I've asked for the encroachment permit with DOT to see what is included on that permit, and that would give us the information. Possibly it's already been discussed with DOT to do that. But I have asked for the permit from the
Right.
county, and they were gonna share that with us.
I know you were working with the Glenview development too, to slow traffic down right there, so I was just thinking that through. Cool, thank you. That's it.
Correct, and we do have an update on the lights. The update agreement was signed last week, and they're working on the work order to get those done.
Sorry, the lights for,
The street lights on
Oh.
the Glenview Park side. We're upgrading and adding lighting to every other pole there. So, all those will be new LED fixtures on those. The ones that's there will get replaced, and then the ones that don't have it will get added.
Anyone else on council?
I have a quick question. Thanks for the improvements for Athens Park. Has the neighborhood been involved in the recent conversations about the improvements?
They have not, and I can reach out to them. There was some money allocated in the budget last year for that, so I have talked to one or two residents over there, but I don't think it's been officially announced through the neighborhood over there.
I know that we've had a plan in place to continue improving that park. I feel like it might be a good opportunity to continue positive relationships with them since they were so engaged recently, keep some momentum with them.
And adding on that, I think it's helpful to people who did the petition or the people who are leading that, reaching out to them directly, because maybe they can mobilize the neighborhood too.
they were really interested in a community garden, so maybe that's a good connection. When we went and met with them, I'll try to think of that.
I believe Hannah Love was one of the contacts.
Well, any other questions? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Thanks, Philip. All right, Public Safety Committee, Chair Byers.
Also order the Public Safety Committee. Present are myself, Shanice Chris, Wayne McCall, Sherry Mara, and Brantley Best is absent today. Do I have a motion to approve the April 8th minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Great, thank you. Okay, first up, we'll have Chief Ford.
Doing well.
Thank you.
Would like to point out on the report, there's a typo there, so I wanted to explain that. On the first page of the April monthly report, the percent change in total motor vehicle collisions was like over 1,000%. That's not correct. So, the year-to-date, 2023 was 78, and it was just 8 listed there, so it's 78. So the percent change is 11 more this year and 14% change, so I did catch that this time. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew that. We have a couple new individuals working with us. I'll talk with the city administrator, and maybe we can get them introduced at the council meeting. Carve that few minutes out, if I can get them here. They're working right now and learning, so. We have both individuals back from the academy. They're in their field training, so they're learning, and we're making progress, so.
Great.
So we're doing good.
Anything else you want to highlight on the report?
I don't believe so, just unless you have questions, anyone has questions?
The Walmart activity looks really positive.
It does. We are encouraged by that. We still stay over there a lot as far as when we have downtime and make our presence known, but it's good that that's done.
Seems to be working. Does anyone on the committee have questions for Chief Ford?
Chief Ford, will you tell us the status of the K-9? We have one at this time, correct?
We do.
Are we in the midst of getting to or no?
Not right now. That's something in the future I want to lean towards. We actually have a community or a citizen that lives just outside the city that has approached me to donate some money if we would name the next K-9 dog what they would want to name it. So there is some positive movement in that direction, but we have not saved enough money in order to be able to fund another one right
Right.
now.
So the K-9 we have now has a full-time trainer and goes home with that person?
Correct.
'Cause we were in,
That's correct.
oh, okay.
Lives with Officer Taylor Harrelson. He has a dog kennel, takes care of the dog on his off time. We, according to the federal government, we're required to pay him for, it's called Garcia pay, is what it is. So he's taken care of real well. And the dog, is doing well. We've used the dog several times, so, things seem to be working out well.
Is it a dual-purpose animal?
It is. It is. It's a dual purpose, apprehension, tracking and apprehension, along with, drug sniffing, yes.
Does anyone on council have questions about the police report?
No, I just have a question though about the license plate reader grant. I guess no news. We're still in the
Mm.
running.
Yes, no news. They told us that they were, 90% sure we would get the grant, but they're simply guessing. So we won't hear anything till probably August.
And I'm assuming we have the matching funds that we have in the budget.
Well,
That
that-
we would have to come up with matching funds, is that correct?
It is, it's 10% matching funds. And that amount, is what we submitted is full turnkey, bells and whistles, everything. They could come back and say, we're not gonna give you that much, we're gonna give you this much. And then, of course, our matching would go down, based on 10%.
Thank you.
Mhm.
No other questions? You're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh.
My turn.
Yep. Anything you want to highlight on the fire report for us?
Not necessarily on the report. I'll be answering any questions. I did want to point out a couple of things. We've had kind of a busy month this past month. We had a group go out to Trinity Baptist Church, or Trinity Presbyterian, for the kids to see the trucks. We did a touch a truck at Chick-fil-A, and we also went to Fist Bump Friday with Officer Leslie. So the guys really enjoy getting out and doing that. They enjoy the kids. They don't always enjoy washing the truck after the kids touch the truck. But that's part of our,
That is the point of Touch a Truck.
I
It's
get
in
it.
the name.
I get it. I
In
get
the
it.
name.
If you turn your back, it'll be climb on the truck, but it's okay. So, but that's all. I just wanted to point those few things out. And, we'll try to keep you up to date on some other stuff that we might be doing, but right now I'll answer any questions about the report that I can.
Does anyone on the committee have questions about the report for Chief Robertson? Anyone on council? All right, thank you. Shannon, is there anything you want to point out about the building department or municipal court reports?
Chair Byers, I do not believe that there's anything spectacular to talk about this month. It's pretty much business as usual.
Does anyone on committee have questions? Anyone on council? All right, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Great, thank you. Who's my co-chair on Planning and Development Committee? Is that you, Kelly? There you go. Planning and Development Committee.
Okay, call to order the Planning and Development Committee. Present are myself, Grant Baumgartner, Shanice Chris, and Sherry Mara. Do we have a motion to approve the April 8th Planning and Development minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And we'll review the April planning report. Shannon, anything you want to highlight for us?
Chair Byers, at this moment, there's nothing new to highlight, but I do expect one new project it's not a new project, it's a revision to an old project to Code of Planning.
Is that
Commission.
the Hemlock?
It's the East Bowers.
Okay. What's the status with the Hemlock Road? I know that they had asked to delay the application a little bit.
They did, and they are still working on their redesign. They have not come back to us with a redesign at this
Do
moment.
you know if there's been any communication with the residents in that neighborhood, or if their timeline to move has changed at all as a result?
I'm unaware of any direct communications with the residents at this point. I anticipate that they would come back with a resolution, a proposed resolution very shortly here, at which point would be an appropriate time to tell the community this is what we think would be a timeline.
Okay, great, thank you. Does anyone on the committee have questions for Shannon? Anyone on council?
How are we coming in our search for a planning director?
I've had a number of interviews. I have another one on Thursday, and so I'm hopeful for this last one upcoming on Thursday. It has not been a very large pool, but there have been some interesting candidates in there, and I am excited and hopeful for this one coming up this week.
Thank you. If nothing else, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. All right, Ways and Means Committee. And Grant, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I want to just say straight out the gate, Carson and Shannon, thank you so much for working on the budget, our chiefs doing all the things, Philip, so I know it's budget season's a little stressful, it's a lot of things, and Shannon, Carson, you guys haven't been here forever, so like learning the things, so very much appreciate all the extra effort, and from Grant as well, who earns his pay once a year for budget season and shows up late and does all the things, so I appreciate you guys. So Ways and Means Committee, Chair Baumgartner.
All right, I call Ways and Means Committee to order. Myself, Kelly Byers, Lisa Lane, and Wayne McCall are here. Brantley Vest is absent. He is in Charlotte and out of town tonight. I would entertain a motion to approve the Ways and Means Committee minutes from the April 8th meeting.
Motion to approve?
I have a second.
Second.
Thank you. We have a second, Kelly. There we go. All right. Getting into the budget. I did not send you my notes. What are you doing all the thank yous?
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. You do it twice.
So I'm going to do it twice, that's right. All right, here we are again in the process of reviewing our budget for the coming fiscal year, 2025 year. It seems like this doesn't take long to come around each year, for sure. To open, I'm going to echo what Brandy has said. I want to acknowledge several who have contributed significantly to the compiling, computing, interpreting, reviewing, and presenting this document to us here on council. First, to Carson Ruffage, who so faithfully dug and dug to uncover figures and documents needed in order to compile accurate figures. Thank you for digging so deeply and often for what we needed. And to our new city administrator, Shannon Herman, who didn't really know what she was walking into as she started her new position, and began the compiling of the budget numbers and figures and learning staff all within the same week. That was a huge first week, drinking from a fire hose for sure that very first week. It's been a pleasure to work with you through this sometimes grueling budget process. Council needs to know, as Ways and Means Committee Chair, I may be presenting this budget, but Shannon has been a trooper to put all the figures you have in front of you together, and in a methodical and complete way that we as council are able to ascertain just where we stand financially as a city for the residents we all represent. And also thanks to our past administrator, Eric Vinson, as we needed his guidance in navigation from the past into the present. Proudly, I'm able to announce to you that we once again are not only presenting a balanced budget, we are doing so with no tax increase and no dipping into our city reserve cash fund, and we are still able to provide programs, services, and protection for the residents of TR. In the evaluation of the status of TR at this time, Shannon and I are aware of the outstanding pressing project that we found needing completion is the Poinsett Corridor project. And with her review and thoughtful projecting, we have been able to include the finalization and fruition of that project in this fiscal year 25 budget for our consideration. Which brings me to our capital improvement plan, which are projections for coming years. Council uses these future plan to budget and plan for projections in revenue, materials, and even equipment in order to have a roadmap for those future large projects, purchases, and expenditures. Greg, you're not getting another fire truck. I'm just telling you right now. With the timing of Shannon's hire, it seems fair to allow her time to get her feet wet in TR to assess what council would like to see in the future and offer her own thoughts of capital project projections for the future. Therefore, the capital improvement plan for this year has no changes from the previously approved plan that we did in 2024. Expect new updates next year. While being conservative in our budget revenue projections and expected expenses, this leaves us as a council in an ideal position for council to reevaluate our financial standing in January. At that time, if financial conditions allow, we have the opportunity to readjust the budget by increasing projected involvement, evaluating current staffing levels, and/or making any additional equipment or motor vehicle purchases a possibility. This also allows for greater evaluation between city needs and fiscal responsibility, which we can look at if we need to in January. Therefore, at this time, both Shannon and I are confident and satisfied with the budget figures as presented. City Administrator Shannon, I believe you have some information you would like to share also.
Chair Baumgartner, members of City Council, it is my pleasure to present this budget summary to you. I would also triple echo now the appreciation and acknowledgement of the team effort that this budget has become. I'm extremely grateful to walk into this process, even though in the beginning I was not grateful. I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to sit. I mean something. Okay. To sit with each of our division managers and also staff members who have quite a depth of insight as to each of the revenue and expenditure line items inside the budget. This process at the beginning of my tenure here has actually become a wealth of knowledge for me. So it's worked out to be excellent. I will tell you that we have a fantastic staff here. I'm just thrilled to be working with them. The chiefs and Director Tate have just been amazingly fair and honest and reasonable in their requests and in their projections. To walk in with the level of trust that I think we've established during this process is quite amazing on my part. I'm very thankful for it. We could not have put this together without Carson living on the accounts, rerunning figures, rerunning wages and salaries, and just pulling everything together. And while we learned this budget process together, it has become immeasurably clear that Carson is the right person for this position. So thank you, Carson, for all of the work. And then thank you, Chair Baumgartner, for your counsel and your history and bringing us all up to speed and where we were. And also thank you to Eric, because he did spend a fair amount of time. You know, everybody has some things in their head, and he was very generous with sharing where everything came from, his knowledge of how we got to where we are, and you know, what the projection of was where we were going forward. So it all kind of began to make sense at some level. So thank you. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the summary here. This budget is a pretty conservative, functional budget. There's nothing fancy or exciting here. We tried to stay competitive and fair with our staffing compensation to make sure that we could keep people and folks could afford to continue to work the jobs that they have here with us. We tried to meet all prior obligations and projects that we've committed to. We tried to anticipate increases in utility and contract values so that we were on pace and accurate in those regards. And we try to remain within the city's means without going into cash reserves. So the budget we present before you does not go into reserves in any regard and has a little bit left over for some cushion. Revenues by source, our total revenue projection is $8.1 million. I have a breakout here, but you can see the vast majority of it comes from your ad valorem taxes, which is roughly 50%, 49%, state fees and remittances, and then fees and fines, and business registration, which is really taking off. I think it's important to understand, you know, where the money's coming from and how we grow our revenues and how we stay in a healthy situation. This budget will project a 6% growth in ad valorem from pretty much our actuals of 2024, which is a 16% growth of the overall budget from the prior year's budget. This year, the revenues came in very well, beat expectations, which were a pretty high regard of expectations as well. You've had great growth in your business license and registration, which is excellent. That's a sign of health in a local economy, so this is good growth. Operations highlights, really again, this is very functional. We only did a few things in here that are really of note. We do have 2 FTE positions. One is a firefighter FTE position. which I walked into understanding that that was needed and coming on board. The second is a conversion of one part-time Public Works staff member to a full-time Public Works staff member. There's a lot that operation is doing. They stay very busy around town, and it's critical for, making sure that we're operating in a way that continues to grow our tourism and those other funding sources. So we think this is a very important position here. This budget does include a cost of living adjustment of 4%, so that's across the board. Did not include a merit adjustment here this year because I'm so new coming on board, and we wanted to make sure we stayed competitive with the other cities. I have talked with all the other city managers to understand that this is a pretty competitive COLA, and if we go forward, we can add in merit or do it in the next year coming on. I've also talked with all the division directors, and they found this plan to be acceptable as well. We added some police training, and actually a weekly training that's going to be great, some additions to our weapons and body armor, a little small line for additional recruitment as needed, and then body camera storage is just very expensive. It's necessary, but it's very expensive. I saw this in other places as well. Both the police and fire require new records management systems. These go obsolete, and so it's time for us to move forward. Again, you're going to see a line item increase because of those. This does include $40,000 to the facade improvement grant program. I looked at what we actually spent this year, and I think we can hit that $40,000. It also includes an additional $13,000 for Philip and his crews to work on the restriping of parking lots because parking is such a critical need and safety need here in the city. Going into our general fund budget, you all have the summary, so I apologize if these are really small numbers. Hopefully you can see them in front of you, but they're the same as in the summary. I think it's of note to see that 59% of the expenditures goes to your public safety. That's police, communications, also called dispatch, and fire. 69% goes to your direct citizen services if you count in your public works and sanitation. So roughly 70% of your budget goes to direct citizen services, which I think is an excellent budget. There is some anticipation of additional parks maintenance if we are to complete any transition with Greenville County Rec, but it will be minimal maintenance, so basically grass cutting, small contract maintenance at this point. Moving forward to the fun stuff, the capital projects, pretty much we tried to wrap up the projects that were committed to prior and to take advantage of the Spring Park and parking lot opportunity that's in front of us. So the Poinsett and Center Streetscape project, it's an original budget of $4.8 million. Some of that is getting ready to roll out the door here in June. As soon as the quotes come back, we're on the hook for meeting our first 50% with the C Funds Committee. And so this is the remainder of what will be rolled into 2025 budget. So, but that does complete that project, at least phase one of it. Also, Tubbs Mountain parking lot, which I believe was originally in phase 3 of this, the opportunity to do it alongside with and utilize the contractors and the mobilization costs that are already in play exists at this time. So we are allocating or requesting you to allocate $200,000 to complete that parking lot, which we think will be, very vital to the streetscape being utilized well there. The Spring Park Inn parking lot was one that you had looked at in the past. You had allocated funding to it already. By the time the project came to be, there was additional stormwater drainage that was needed as well as escalation of costs. So the city now is what I'm proposing here is a cap of investment at $340,000. That is a 30-year term with an additional 30-year term renewal at the end of it. So it's, I think, a good investment for the city to have downtown parking there. That project will be managed and owned by the Historical Society, but the city will manage the use and the operation of the parking lot. I believe it's imperative that we continue to be able to connect sidewalks as new developments come on. So there's $40,000 in the new sidewalks budget that Philip manages for us. Thank you, Philip. Additionally, based on your retreat goals, downtown beautification was one item that was really important to you as a body, and so there's a small line item here of $35,000 that can be kind of dispersed around as we see fit. I would say that's a TBD line as to what that $35,000 goes to, but it's just an opportunity to be invested in beautification efforts as they come up. And then I think a critical item that I haven't seen, because you have new facilities in the budget here, is deferred maintenance line item. I would suggest that this is one we're probably going to need to grow as the facilities begin to age in order to keep them in the quality repair that they're currently in. Our first proposed project is to paint the exterior of the administrative building. That's $11,500. My plan is to hold that project until the springtime, and if we have something else that requires our attention, like the HVAC did this year, that we do have a line item that we can assign to it. But I think we'll probably need to grow this line item as we go so that we can make sure we stay on top of everything here. It's beautiful and takes time, a little bit of work to repair it. In addition to that list, which is not our project, so it doesn't go on there in capital expenses, but you did pay for it in this past year. You'll see the construction of the YMCA connector trail. So I think there's just a lot going on that's going to be really visually and usefully impactful to the citizenry and the capital projects. I'm excited for this fund. Hospitality and accommodations fund highlights. Your hospitality fund does great. It's a very healthy growth because the city's just such a fun place to be, and people are doing well here. Your revenues are projected. I project them to increase another 7% on the FY24 budget. This fund, I'm proposing to include funding for the future park maintenance as well as transferring some fund to the general fund to cover the public works, police, facade improvement, and restriping that we see in the general fund budget. There's an additional transfer of $75,000 to the capital fund budget, and this helps fund those sidewalks and downtown beautification, which I think are very appropriate to come out of the hospitality fund. The local accommodations fund is balanced. You have a growth going here. It's a slower growth, but I think you have all seen that over time of $32,500. Sorry, that's a fund balance growth. This budget will also transfer $70,000 to the general fund for the downtown parks and parks maintenance, public safety during events and events. So we begin to build down. I would like to look at us beginning to build down the use of these funds for what I would consider to be general fund operations, even though a lot of that goes into these tourism promotion opportunities. I'd like to begin to look at these funds as an opportunity for capital projects in the future. You have some great capital projects coming out of the ARPA funding and a healthy capital balance, as well as healthy hospitality tax balance. So I think that these are great opportunities as we go forward, knowing that probably will not be another large influx of federal cash like that again. So that's just my plan going forward, and I'd like to share with you going that way. Finally, some additional special revenue funds to talk about. The Victims Advocate Fund is growing a very healthy balance. This is a very narrow definition of use prescribed by state law. You can only carry forward up to $25,000 of growth per year. Now, you haven't hit that in years prior, but we're going to hit it this year. And so what that means is we do have to contribute to charitable functions that serve in this capacity. We're going to spend a lot of time really analyzing how can that best come back to the citizens of TR, because these are the funds coming from that fees and fines here at our court. These are supported by the court fees. We have one part-time advocate. We're going to increase her number of hours from 10 to 15 hours a week. This allows her to do more work during that time. She is very amenable to this and excited for that opportunity. And then as we move forward, we're going to spend some time, Chief and I will spend some time really studying that law to see what else we can do, since this fund is going to continue to grow in the future. And finally, the Tree Mitigation Fund, which you established very recently in FY 2023, it's growing well. It's growing quickly. Probably not good news for the trees, but the fund is used to preserve, replace, and maintain the city's tree canopy. The vast majority of the line item budgeting here goes to planting, pruning, fertilizing, and mulching, and I did propose that we increase that a little bit. We went over the amount that we plan to do just in fertilization and pruning this year. We have some trees in the park that need to be taken care of. I know there's opportunity to put trees at the Swamp Rabbit down past Sun Rift. There's some good opportunities to utilize this money, so I'm looking forward to seeing these trees come out of the ground. It is growing quite quickly. Your actual revenue in FY '24 was $186,500. I know that we got a check the other day for $63,000 for tree mitigation. So something for us to look at in the future. Is this accomplishing the goals that we want? Are we using the funds in every capacity that we can, the way we want? It's just an opportunity. Since it's your fund, you created it. You have a lot of opportunity there. So that concludes my presentation at this time. I believe I wanted to make sure I didn't have another slide on the end. And I appreciate it and look forward to Chair Baumgartner leading us on and answering any questions as they come about.
Shannon, thank you very much. Great overview for what we've got going on. I'll say this, as in the past, even though this is a Ways and Means Committee meeting, I'm opening this up for discussion and comments from all of council, not just committee members, so everybody can participate here, and I expect that. Let me move on. Let's go right on into the item D, 2024 operating budget. On the budget summary sheet that you all have, I don't know if you have it in front of you or not, but actually, if you want to, Carson, can you bring up the summary sheet? As we go into the year, $347,112 is all that we are increasing, which I consider this to be a slight increase over fiscal year 2024. Part of this is based on what Shannon pointed out a while ago. A lot of our increasing goes into the public works, into the city and fire part. And some of that is because we discovered that on those two funds especially, the health insurance line item on both of those budgets has increased dramatically. And when I questioned that, and Shannon got to asking, and Carson got to digging. This is the digging part that she did. We found out that in prior years, we have not been using actual figures for that. And so what we're doing now is in this budget, there is a huge increase on that line item, which is simply on an accounting side, bringing everything up to where it needs to be. So we are square where we need to be. She's working off of actual figures, which I questioned a bunch. Right at the last minute, I said, where in the heck is this coming from? So that's all we're doing, is it's coming back up to where it needs to be. It's still all within budget, but that's a great part of this $347,000 that we're actually increasing. The COLA of 4% is pretty average around the county and allows us, again, to reevaluate things as we come into January. If we want to redo some things first of the year, we can do that.
What's the federal COLA?
I believe, I should not answer that off the top of my head. I saw it come out the other day, but I wanted to say it's 6%.
So we're less than the federal COLA on what you're proposing?
Could be if that's what it is.
Sorry?
It could.
According to Google, 3.2%.
That's why I shouldn't say it off the top of my head.
It says the 2024 COLA will be 3.2%.
Federal side?
Yeah.
So that's fairly close.
That is, hold on a second, let me make sure. That are the notes that I have for general fund. I will open this up. Does anyone have any comments or questions that they would like to ask concerning this general fund budget?
I had one question, Grant. The ARP funds, are they obligated to be spent by a certain time?
They are. They're obligated to be spent, is it the end of 2025? But the way that fund worked, and talking with Eric, was because we were under a certain threshold, which I believe was $10 million, and that all of that funding went into your capital projects fund because it's essentially considered revenue replacement. It still has to be accounted for. We still have to demonstrate that we spent funds, but they can be spent without the restrictions that that they were initially sent out with, because we're under a certain minimum threshold
Okay.
for that. So all of that is in your capital fund, and you will expend it prior to the deadline, well prior to the deadline.
Okay.
I think they had to be committed by this fiscal year, it's spent by the following.
And you are in the process right now of accumulating the information needed to actually send in the reports for what has already been spent, correct?
That is on Carson's and my to-do list this week. We'll share those out when we're complete with that exercise.
Thank you.
So, good question, thank you. Anybody else have anything right now?
Just as a reminder, so this is our first pass through committee, then it'll go for first reading, then second reading. So it's not like we have to have all the answers tonight. But
Correct, no. And I will need a motion from someone on council, on committee, and a second on committee, just to send this on to council.
And we're just at D, is that correct? Right.
Correct.
I motion to move that.
Okay, I've had a motion to send it on. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Kelly has seconded that. We will send the general operating budget on. Item E, the fee rate schedule. So, the fee rate schedule in front of you has just a few increases on a few small items. It also has a couple pass-through items that are rather large expenses, but they are for engineering. Is that not correct, Ms. Shannon? And it's basically, it's what we're charged that we end up having to turn around and charge others for, so we are simply adjusting those to where they need to be so that we can recoup what we're actually charging, what we're actually being charged. There is just a few other small changes within, and a little bit of changes in a couple wordings. That's what is there. Let's see, I'm just going to read what I wrote down. As explained in the memorandum, fees have been increased in only a few of the fees because most were adjusted in this past year fiscal 2024 budget. A few of the fees are pass-on expenses that are charged to us by others. That's pretty much what it is. Do I have questions?
scroll down a little bit more, or is that the last page?
Well, y'all know I spoke out against the sanitation trash fee before I was on city council, so an increase in that fee is not something that I am for. Is there a reason for the dollar increase?
Actually, there is. Let me explain. Sanitation costs, not including the landfill tipping costs, just the sanitation costs or pickup costs were $280,000. This fee brings in $136,000. We are supplementing this fee, this trash pickup fee, to the tune of, well, actually, I added both of these in. Hold on a minute. Let me do the math. I don't want to give you the wrong figure. What we're doing is supplementing our fees, and we don't need to be doing that. So I raised that and am suggesting, this was my suggestion to Shannon, to increase that by a $1 fee, which will grant us a $22,800 increase in that single line item.
Which
We
is
got
still,
200, we got 2,200 families,
We have
residences.
1,900 families.
And Shannon, I'm assuming Grant told you this was a very hot topic for some of us, and so I expect some conversation about it. But when we had this agreement to move it to $6, we talked about, should we put an increase on it so we don't have to talk about this every year? And we all said, no, we're going to put the $6 on it, we'll worry about it later. So this is us worrying about it later. I mean, I would love to not have to talk about it every budget, but just as some history, like it was definitely a big deal, but we were trying to match fee for service with the actual cost, so.
We're $144,000 short.
With the
Like what the
increase?
city, contribution
No,
is?
not including the increase.
The increase adds 22,800 to the
Correct. It does.
decrease of shortage.
It does.
Maybe you don't have this math, but, or maybe you could do it quickly if you could, but, so what is the city's portion and what is the resident's portion of the cost?
Well,
Per
what
month? You got a
we-
guess?
Right now where we are, the city's portion is $144,000. The resident portion is $136,800.
Okay, I can do the math real quick.
And
I was
that
just
does-
curious, like, what is,
What's the difference?
yeah, like, what is the?
And that doesn't
resident
include the
paying?
landfill fee. That's what we're missing, is that that's not really truly the entire fee.
My concern in the beginning, and my concern still, is putting this fee on a water bill, which pretty much, like, I know I can afford, but since I've been on council, water bills have gone up $15 to $20, unless you're on a septic tank, then it's probably gone up about $10. So for those, single families, people working several jobs to try to make ends meet, with $1 here, $1 there, it adds up with higher gas prices, higher food prices, higher cost of living. We have a county council tax that's going to be implemented, and I just don't want to put that on somebody's water bill and add another more for them to have to pay.
What I'm
$12.
concerned about, and that makes perfect sense, but what concerns me as the Ways and Means Committee Chair is that where do we stop? I mean, the fee.
Correct. Where do we stop?
Well, our cost is going to continue to increase. Our police costs are going to,
Well,
the city costs
I
are
don't
going to
want this
continue to
connected to the
increase. And we're not
police.
bringing in anything more. So we'll end up spending more, but we're not bringing in more to cover that. I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I feel like with the home sales, the additional home sales, the higher cost of price of homes, we should be bringing in more property taxes. Somebody moves out of a $250,000 home, is now being sold for $500,000. That brings in revenue. We just annexed another property to bring in revenue. So that's a concern that I have, and that is something that I am against.
What other thoughts we got?
Well, the whole thing about that is too, if the piece of the pie, if you're doing a pie thing, should that not be included in your, the portion of the taxes that you actually pay on your property? I mean, should that not be included in property instead of a separate line item? I mean, I don't get that. That's the part I don't understand. You see what I'm saying? I mean, if you're looking at your tax bill on your actual piece of property, your home, it seems to me that sanitation should be included in that as a service, just like fire, police, and all. That's the way I see it. And so I can kind of relate to what Lisa's saying there. And, I know it's a slippery slope. We take it, we get stabbed every year from the county with the tipping fee things. Because we're paying that same, you're paying county taxes for the same thing to get done, but then they turn around and they charge us the tipping fees. How we're gonna fix that, I have no idea. I've been scratching my head about that for 20 years. And it hadn't worked anything yet. But, so you're actually paying your property tax to the county. And they're turning around and they're taking that part of that money, and they're charging us on our city side the tipping fees. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a conundrum. In any way you look at it, it is a conundrum, because you're being taxed double for the same thing. In essence, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I've heard you argue that for 20 years, so I know that
Exactly,
as a
I know,
fact, sure.
but what I'm saying, I mean, you're getting taxed twice for the same service.
So in this particular case, if we did it the way that you were saying, what we'd have to do is increase property
I
taxes
understand
in
that.
order
I understand
to
that too.
cover the
I
same
understand
thing.
that
So,
too.
and we're not gonna win.
No, but you can say what you want to say, but a fee is a tax. It's a tax, it's just called by another name. So
Different letters.
we're not gonna win. As long as as long as we're using a county landfill, we're not gonna win that battle. It's not just Joe Cornell, it was the Gerald Seals before him. I mean, it's been going on and going on and going on. And they keep, since I've been on council, they've built a new landfill. They've closed the old one on Bowling Springs, and they built the new one down there on 25. And I'm sure it's getting close to capacity because rumor has it that they're looking around for another landfill site now. So I'm against any kind of additional fee, but it's like Grant says, what are you gonna do? Somebody explain to me, somebody give me a reason, what's gonna happen? How's it gonna be any better? I don't know. Like I say, again, I've been trying to figure that out for 20 years and I can't do it. So,
Are the tipping fees, like, did the county raise the tipping fee or we have more trash? Or both?
I don't know the history of that. I can tell you that your line item's gone up, and that's at $35,000 just for the tipping fee there. It's gone up, but I don't know why. I don't know the
And
history. I
also,
didn't ask that.
I'm
we
sure
got rid
it's
of
gone.
recycling,
Yeah, that's
so,
what I was gonna say,
yeah,
so
yeah.
recycling.
Well,
Well,
we didn't get rid of
and-
recycling, it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
more people probably put, so
Right.
I
I mean,
anticipated it
that's what
going
I'm
up this
asking,
year.
like, they charge by weight, so I would assume it would have gone up
Yeah.
because we did away with recycling. And then I didn't know if they raised it additionally on top of that.
I don't want to get stuck here forever, so just for some clarity, so we have 4 members on this committee, so we need 3 to move it forward? Right?
This portion, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, unless we amend it.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Shannon, I have a question and/or statement. I don't know the answer, so I'm kind of throwing it out there. So there are other municipalities who, if you're not in their city, they have to get their own trash, which means in a subdivision, you could have 5, 6 trash trucks coming through your subdivision Monday through Friday. So being in the city is the advantage that we're with our server now, but is that, like, are we required to stay with them, or would it ever be where, okay, take the fee away and everyone's responsible for your trash, as if the people outside of the city, it's gonna be more than $7 for sure, but individual choices?
That's a great question. I don't know the regulations on when you get into this type of service. I do live in a neighborhood that's outside of a city limits, so we do have 3 trash collection days in our neighborhood. It is more than that. I can tell you that the cost for this service is $12, and the fee proposed, or current fee is $6, and the fee proposed is $7. So I would imagine 12 is probably a running number in
An
general.
average? Mhm.
is it not, Brandy, you up on all this now, no, and is there not in the state statute to become a town, city, whatever, there's 3 core things that you have to provide: police, fire, and trash removal.
I don't know I haven't looked
I-
at that in a
I
long time.
think
I don't
that-
know
I-
if the
I think that's in
trash is
state
one.
statute.
Yeah, it might be.
That,
They've made
those
it
are
so
3
hard, there's not going to be
Three
any
things
new
that you have to
incorporated
provide.
cities, so.
to be, a city or town.
So if you're in the city, we have to stay contained, the city supply
I'm
it.
thinking that, I'm not 100%.
Okay.
I thought, you guys might have discussed that some.
I'm not talking about getting rid of trash. I want to get reelected one day, let's not get crazy. No more trash in Traverse Rest.
How much of the 7 goes to Greenville Water?
Oh,
Well,
none.
a
I mean,
collection
They
have
do a
slight
collection
fee
fee.
on top of
We
that.
paid something.
It's,
Is it 1%? Yeah. Yeah, we're not keeping the whole $6. You're right, Lisa. I think when I did my math,
I don't want to argue with anybody over $1.
no, and it's $12
do.
a year, but I think we need to figure out whether this is going to move forward or not. Otherwise, you guys are going to have to go back to the drawing board or think of something different.
no, it actually just depends. I'll entertain a motion and whatever,
So
whoever.
it goes
brings the
good.
motion.
Motion as is with a dollar increase.
I have a really quick question, not about trash. So the rental fee went up about the community room meeting in the council chambers. I know 2 years ago, we looked at fees for the farmer's market pavilion and the amphitheater. Were those fees did we compare fees to other similar venues?
We did not compare them to other similar venues. We did talk about it, and my understanding is that we felt like this was a really quality deal for those who were doing business in the city with us. Also, that fee had gone up, in the year prior, so we felt like living with that for another year to see how we did on the revenues there and really evaluating that. The fee for the rentals of the rooms is more for the cleaning.
Can I make a motion to move?
There's already a motion on the floor.
Oh, he made the motion? Okay.
Yeah, there's a motion on the
Okay.
floor, so they go in the positive. So Grant has a motion as is. Yay or nay? Got Kelly, Lisa, Wayne, and Grant.
Second or not?
I'll second.
Okay,
Well,
Kelly's got a second.
I'll second, sure.
Okay.
Kelly just seconded that.
All right, all in favor of moving it forward to council, we'll have another conversation about this. Okay. Grant?
Are you in favor?
Okay, all right. And then opposed? All right, 3-1. All right, we'll send it forward.
All right, moving on to item F, capital improvement plan. This is, as stated earlier, there's really no changes outside of the downtown beautification. Am I correct on saying it this way, Shannon, that really the only changes we've done is adding the downtown beautification, the deferred maintenance line, and then bringing to fruition the incomes for the expenditures?
Yes, sir, I would say that that's correct. It's just an adjustment of the numbers to meet the current projected numbers.
Next year, it will be much different. She'll be here long enough to put some things in place, y'all, so.
Well, I think it's also, we've been in planning and now we're in execution mode. So it makes sense to me that we don't have like the plan for what's next because we got to pay for the things that we have going on. And so this council's always been very fiscally conservative. So it's like, all right, we're going to spend that money down and start thinking about what comes next. So makes sense.
Just some clarity about the sidewalk program. So in the, what you had presented earlier was this $40,000 number, and you said for new sidewalks?
Yes.
Is this for maintenance and repair?
So there's a line item in maintenance for sidewalk maintenance, and so this is for new sidewalks. So when you have a neighborhood that's going to tie to our sidewalks, and there's a gap between where they end and where our sidewalks begin, that's where we spend this money. Philip, am I correct in that?
Did the maintenance fund used to be in the capital improvement fund plan?
It's in the general fund.
It doesn't matter. I just want to make sure I'm not crazy. So, all right, thank you.
So we kind of got two. Is that what you're saying? Like we got a maintenance one and this is a capital improvement.
Right, like I
plan? Okay.
know that we've had a maintenance one, and I thought it lived in the capital improvement program, so I just wanted to make sure both funds were taken care of.
And when I talked with Eric about this specifically, because I saw two line items as well, he was explaining to me the difference between if we have, water intrusion or something that's disrupting our sidewalks as they currently exist on the roll versus when you're connecting with new developments.
Like, for example, if DOT would have let us work on the sidewalk at Glenview, we could have used that money to do something over there, but, okay.
It's actually a dual program. It's called street/sidewalk maintenance in the Public Works budget, and there's $45,000 line item for that,
I
which
thought
is separate from this.
I thought that the trail, or the sidewalk maintenance bucket was like sidewalk and trail maintenance. Okay, I just want to make sure both are taken care of. All right.
And Philip, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the trail maintenance falls to the county for the Swamp Rabbit trail maintenance.
Yeah, and then sometimes we just say, we'll pay for it because we want it
We
to
want it
happen.
done now.
Yeah.
We want it pretty, too.
Any other questions on capital improvement plan? I would entertain a motion to send that on to full council.
Motion.
Thank you, Kelly. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, moving on. Hospitality and accommodations tax budget. Both of these budgets are together. Hold on. Papers with notes, y'all. It's like Shannon and I lived this budget for a while, then we can't find anything. Actually, the budgets are presented, she's presented them, they've been in front of us also. Those are all limited fund budgets anyway, that they're restricted funds that we can only use on certain items. She has together exactly what those are going for. The accommodations fund is actually going to increase after this year. She's got it planned out that way. And all the revenues are expected to increase on both of those funds. Does anybody have any questions concerning either one of those? All right, hearing no questions, I would entertain another motion to send hospitality and accommodation tax budgets on.
Motion to send it on.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kelly. Fiscal year 2024-25 Victims Advocate Budget. Shannon, thank you for doing all that. I'm excited to see you and the chief collaborate on this to see how we might be able to expend these funds as they have grown over the past years. So thank you both for doing that. Again, this is one of those very restricted funds. Does anybody have any comments or questions concerning the Victims Advocate budget?
What is our fund balance in that? So right now, we pay like 10 hours for a victim's advocate. Is there any other, have we spent them in any other way?
Well, currently your fund balance is $54,000. And as to how it's spent, you've got a allocation format in here. The vast majority of it goes to salary compensation. There's a very small amount for training and seminars. We actually increased that this year to send her to an additional training. And then you've got some office supplies, equipment, phone service.
Thank you.
That fund is so incredibly restricted. There's just not much that can be used with. So I'm excited to hear y'all see if you can find a way to use that a little bit more. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
But I'll make a comment about that, and you just pass over this lightly until you ever need it. And once you ever need it, and you know what I'm talking about, there's not enough money you can put in it to make it worthwhile. I can tell you that. It is a very, very worthwhile thing, and it's, when it'll hit you when you least expect it, I can tell you that. So, that's one of my favorite things we do.
All right, hearing nothing else, do I hear a motion to send this on?
Make a motion to send it on.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
Second.
Lisa.
I did.
Oh, Lisa, I
Second.
didn't hear where it came from. Thank you. Fiscal year 24-25 Annual General Obligation, I'm sorry, Tree Mitigation Fund. We've established it. It is growing, and we are able to use this to do so many great things with the trees in this city on the areas that we own. So, does anybody have any comments or questions concerning the Tree Mitigation Fund?
I have a question. Shannon mentioned a couple times that it's growing and growing really fast, and maybe that's not good for the trees. Is our tree mitigation stringent enough? Are we, I mean, should we slow this growth down a little bit, the fun of this?
But the reason for us, because you weren't here when we did all
Right.
this, the reason for us doing this was, for instance, I'm going to use, it was not here when Pinestone came in. The whole idea behind this is to try to get developers to leave some of that tree canopy there.
Yes.
But if they're not going to, then we have defined guidelines that they are going to be penalized then for clear cutting everything.
I think my question is, should we make the penalty harsher, higher?
That was a conversation that we all kind of had, that Eric had with us also, and somebody remind me, we're one of the first ones in the area, first municipality in the area to even put a fund like this together,
I think we
weren't we?
copied the city of
Greenville
Greenville a
has
good
one.
bit.
Greenville?
Yeah,
Okay, I
yeah.
couldn't
stringent.
remember.
Yeah, and there were a couple things we were more particular about the type of tree. We talked a lot about maybe the difference between a pine and a hardwood or something like that, but maybe we could go back and look at it and see, well, now that we have Shannon too, of like, audited a little bit, what's working. I mean, they're paying the fees, but is that,
I'd
the
rather
goal wasn't to
save some more
grow
trees.
cash, it was to have, but we were able to
Think
play
about
it, yeah.
Yes.
That's a great idea, yeah.
I think it's a great project for a new planning director to come on and really look at.
Yeah.
I will tell you that I've had several developer meetings in just the past couple weeks, and they've mentioned it. So I think that there's room to look at species type, hardwoods versus non-hardwoods, things of that nature. I think it's something they bat eyes at, but it depends on which lot they picked up. And then some of them don't bat an eye at all, and so it is kind of what it is. But
know,
I
I
think it's a
had a
great
pers-
project for a planning director to really
Yeah.
look at.
I had a personal conversation with a developer sometime during the first of this year, and I didn't say anything. He found out I was on council and wanted to know why we were so stringent.
Yeah, I was thinking, didn't we copy Greenville for the most part? I
think
thought we
so.
did.
I'm pretty sure we
Uh-huh.
did, yeah. And if we had it
And then
one
we're
fiscal year,
More
so,
strict, not less than
yeah,
they
I
were.
think we were
Mhm.
more, I just can't remember what it was about. But I guess we've had it one budget, and then this would be our second budget, is that right? Okay. So we're newbies to this a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question.
It's a great pass
Day
on there.
one, planning director.
Yeah,
Catherine asked for you to.
I did the budget, you
that
can do the
on.
tree ordination.
But I do think that's good for us to take a look at it. I would agree with that, to make sure that we're in line where we need to be, so thank you for that. Anybody else have anything? All right, do I hear a motion to send the tree mitigation fund budget on?
Motion.
Thank you, Kelly. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, going on to the annual general obligations bond, the GO bond. This is a yearly renewal of the annual GO bond issued for the construction of City Hall back when we did this. It's a yearly thing that we do, and have to do, by law, we have to do it this way. So it is $127,000 GO bond, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Questions from anybody on this?
I have a question. If you would go back to your summary page, I thought the bond line item was way higher, but this doesn't seem to be that much higher. So I just wanted clarification on what exactly.
So these are the bond proceeds to go towards that debt payment.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was a negative. Oh, right there, Carson. Bonded, I see the 190. Why is it an increase of 190?
Let me get to
Bond
that.
indebtedness.
So what did you ask, what was your question, Brandon?
Oh, sorry, I was mumbling. The bond indebtedness for, on the summary page, it's an increase of 190. So I was like curious what that is, because I think we pay it every year, so I'd anticipate eventually it starts going down. But
It
maybe it
does.
included Poinsett?
No, you did a capital equipment lease last
Okay.
year that went into effect, so this would be your first year of payments on the capital equipment lease. Additionally, you had one of them roll off, your B schedule, 2013 B schedule rolled out, but you agreed in your bonds going forward to take that payment and apply it towards your 2017 series. So, I'm sorry, I'm looking for that budget summary that you're looking at. Oh, bond indebtedness, here we go.
It just seemed high, so I was just trying to make sure.
And those numbers come from our financial advisor
Okay,
and Brad Love with Hainsworth.
double check it for me. It just seems a little high for some, even if it was the capital, that was just for vehicles though, right? And I wasn't-
Capital is for the vehicles and
okay,
equipment.
So
Mhm.
190 increase, okay. All right.
And
That's
you have
why I'd like
interest,
everybody to take a look at all this stuff
Yeah,
for that
just
very
weird stuff
reason.
that hangs out. I was like, oh,
That's-
should it be that high?
It's the cost of doing business.
But we've been paying on this for a while. Okay.
What, if, I don't know if this is the time to ask, if I am, shout me down, Grant. What is our bonding capacity at this particular time? Does any, of you guys, you girls know, ladies, I'm sorry, any of you ladies know? Our
I-
bonding capacity?
I have not run the bonding
With this
capacity.
inclusive?
That was not a number that I spent time putting together yet for you, because we didn't have a bond issue coming up other than the GO bond, which is your annual. But I could get that number for you
I
quickly.
mean, that's, I
I
mean,
think
if you
in
knew it,
general,
that's
it's
fine, but-
healthy. Like, I
I'm
think,
sorry?
like every year I have to come in and sign the bond. It's like a yearly thing. And I mean, I think we have capacity.
Trust me,
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that too.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what the capacity is, but I'm sure they'd be happy to let us
Well,
borrow money
well,
from them.
you know, but your capacity has to meet with your income and,
Mhm.
you know, your ad valorem and all, everything.
It's a
such
good
as
question
that.
to know what we could borrow if we wanted
Yeah,
to.
that would just be a good question. But I mean, it's not a huge thing, but, you know, if we're looking at other things down the road, then it might be worthwhile.
It's certainly a number I plan to have at the forefront of the brain once we get through
And
this
are we
piece of it.
borrowing money for Poinsett?
Yes, well, no, we're not.
Not, okay.
So we've got C funds.
Okay.
And then
And
you
ARPA.
borrowed money for that. You borrowed the hospitality tax revenue bond already, the $1.2 million. So that's being applied towards it. You did that in 2022, I believe.
Okay.
And then we're applying capital funds, the rest of
ARP.
ARPA, so to
But is
speak.
there not, was there not money interjected in the state budget for a portion of that?
Yes, that's the C funds
Yeah.
money.
Only on C funds, not in the general budget?
There's
That's
some,
what they're funneling it through. right?
correct. I don't believe there's any general budget funds towards it. You've got your C funds match for the project,
$1
and then your C funds resurfacing match. We used it to resurface Poinsett when we do that. So, 2 C funds projects in there.
Sorry, chased a rabbit there, but, okay.
All right, do I hear a motion to send this GO bond on for approval at council?
Motion to move it forward.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kelly. All right, moving over to the Spring Park Inn funding reallocation. Because the Spring Park Inn parking lot is actually in the fiscal year 2024, our current budget, and the project is going to be over budget by an additional $22,000, we have to do a reallocation for this 2024 budget to cover the cost. Total city contribution for the Historical Society project will not exceed $340,000. That's, excuse me, that's exactly the wording that Shannon is proposing in this. And the parking agreement, I'll talk about the,
Separate MOU.
I'll talk about the parking agreement in a second. So this is just at $340,000. It's actually for an additional $22,000 is all it is for.
Actually, I think it's for an additional 125, right? So the reassignment, the 103 is an increase from a different fund, and then the 22, right? So this 125
Busy
is the
Bee Park.
increase.
Thank you.
Okay, okay.
Didn't catch it.
That parking lot jumped up high. But, I mean, when we first looked at this, when we put it in the 2023, that was years ago. So, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's taken them a while to come up with we've done this, it just took them a while to get the quote, get everything put together. And they found out that they had an issue with the holding the water runoff,
Part of the crease.
holding pond.
And Shannon, for your expertise in all things parking lot, does this feel like a fair cost for, is it 50 or 60 acres, sorry, 50 or 60
I believe it's
spots?
50
Okay.
spots.
Does that feel like gut check for you?
I feel like it's reasonable. Philip and I have both spent a fair amount of time with Arbor Engineering, and who did the landscape estimates for them, as well as the Historical Society, to look at where their costs have increased. Philip's worked really hard to help them pull it back as much as possible. But I feel like it's pretty on par, and especially when you look at a 30-year use return, I think that's where it becomes more reasonable in my mind.
In a year, something like that, which is what we probably would have paid for the one across from TR Oriental. I was just trying to gut check it, and then for the Poinsett, we had like 200,000, but it's kind of an already existing parking lot, so cost-wise.
Somebody, just to satisfy my finite mind, what are we actually talking about when we say reassignment of the fiscal year 2024 gazebo area pocket park?
And
What are we talking about there?
In the capital improvement plan, the gazebo pocket park was a part of that plan that we were going to use. We're just not going to do that and reallocate it to this and come back to the pocket park later.
So, in layman's terms, what does that mean? I mean, what are
Taking
we
it from
doing?
one
Not doing
spot
the
and
pocket
putting-
park, we're just moving the money that's going towards, that we had thought we were going to use towards the pocket park, we're moving it towards a parking lot instead.
Towards their parking lot.
And then we're coming up with an extra $22,000.
And I think we still need the gazebo area pocket park, like that whole spot where Dicey and everything will go, but that won't be until like another budget period, so it's taking money out of that now.
You know, I mean, all this is great, and we need the parking. I'm not here to discuss that, but I think it's worth note to mention that we're putting money into a private location. It's not something that the city owns. So, you know, how we feel about that?
Well, neither was
see what I'm saying?
Tandem.
Huh?
Neither was Tandem. That was another one. We put money into the church parking lot. That's not for profit, so it's kind of our MO at this point.
Well, yeah, but if you remember, Tandem parking lot was the very first city-owned parking lot.
Yeah, that was our tester.
Now,
Yeah.
that was
We only
our-
had
that
10
was
years
dipping
on
our
that one.
toes into the water right there.
Yeah, that was a 10-year one.
And that seemed to work out pretty well. But I mean, I'm just saying, kind of
Mhm.
playing devil's advocate here. I mean, you're looking at, you're putting $340,000 into something that the city does not own, does not control.
For 30 years, though, we control it.
Exactly. That's one of the changes in the documents was that Eric was working initially, I don't think he was working on 30, wasn't it initial
5.
5 years?
I think that was a mistake.
Somehow it
30
came out
years,
at
yeah.
5 years at one point, but 30 years just seems like going back to where we don't have any control over what happened to Tandem. I mean, they got it for 10 years and then it's theirs.
Well, but, no. In Tandem, that was challenged legally. That was challenged legally. And because of the fact that the way it was originally set up, originally designed, that we had control of that parking lot, even though we didn't own it, but we had control of it because it was a legal binding document. And so, is that in place?
Councilman McCall, the next item on our list here is an MOU, which is a land use agreement, land lease and use agreement, and that will offer you, and the Historical Society has agreed to it. It's a 30-year term. The confusing sticking point was in there was originally they had a 5-year option to go hard at 5 years,
Right.
and we said no, we took that out. They agreed to taking that out, and in that place, we just simply agreed to an annual policy review. The city has purview over the operations, as well as Chief Ford will have purview over, making sure that everything's working safely there for that 30-year term. Additionally, it has an automatic 30-year renewal unless either party decides not to with a specific
That's what I
notice.
want to know. So in essence, to answer all those questions I just asked, we have control, we have use of that parking lot for 30 years.
Absolutely.
Okay, I rest my case. Thank you.
For like 11,000 a year, which is not bad.
No, I mean,
What about maintenance of it yearly? Is that on us then as well? Or is-
It's spelled out, but yes, that would essentially be on us.
About how much do you think that would be?
I didn't run numbers on that, but you think about it, if it's a brand new pour, what does a pour last? 5 years usually before it has some sealant work, and then after that another 5 years, and then usually a resurface.
I see it now.
We're not cutting the grass or anything over there.
Just the parking lot.
Right, just the
Thank
parking
you.
lot.
Which is fully paved. And we did explore whether it was better to be a semi-pervious surface like a gravel, but that does have a significant maintenance, not only cost, but upkeep. And it was not a significant savings on the stormwater drainage.
Sorry about that. They kind of brought both things together at one time, but we kind of needed to talk about it in that way. So any other comments about the funding, the reallocation of the funding? And then this comes out of this year, current fiscal year 24 budget. All right, no other comments? Do I have a motion to send that on to council?
Motion.
Thank you, Kelly. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Wayne. All right, that goes on, which brings us into the last part of this, which is the MOU, which was exactly what you were talking about. Wayne is the operations of that. Shannon, you feel good about how all of this looks also to keep the city protected in this, correct?
Yes, sir. This contract was actually drawn up by Robbie Childs on behalf of the city. We reviewed it a number of times, and I feel like it's a fair balance between the city's investment as a one-time cash donation for the long-term land use and land lease agreement.
Anybody have any questions or comments on this? All right, hearing none, do I hear a motion to send this also on to council?
Motion.
Thank you, Kelly. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thanks, Wayne. All right, that is going on to council also. That ends my Ways and Means Committee meeting. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I have one question that was not addressed and that I didn't hear. And again, excuse me, I mean, I'm getting age on me, and if I'd read the last page, we wouldn't even have to have that conversation, so I apologize. What about the intersection at Center and Main? Is that out for bid? Is that gonna be a part of the
Oh,
Poinsett?
that's in Poinsett, right?
Is that gonna be a part of the Poinsett project or not?
To be fair, to answer your question properly, I would need to look at the plans. The plans are labeled Poinsett/Center Street. So there's some component of that, but I am not familiar yet with the plans
I mean,
themselves.
I think so,
Center
Wayne.
Street, Main Street intersection up there at,
The diagonal crosswalk.
Diagonal
yeah, the
crosswalk.
diagonal crosswalk.
I'm like 90% sure we put it in there. Let's double check it.
We can pull the plans up. We'll be happy to do that. and
Yeah,
get
we
back
don't
with
want to forget about that. Yeah.
I'm thinking Eric did include that because it was not a big enough job to do individual. So he was incorporating it with Poinsett.
That's
So it
what
was
I
to be done
remember.
all
what
at
I
the same
understood.
time.
Well, I
But
mean,
double
Assuming it's in
check.
phase
What I
one.
Me too.
I've heard that, but I mean, there's nothing concrete about
Yeah,
it. That
that's a
should
good
be,
point.
you know,
We
We'll
want-
find that out.
We
Thank
want
you,
that
Ms. Shannon.
diagonal crosswalk, so.
yeah.
Thank you, Ms.
Okay.
Shannon.
Good
All
night,
right,
Wayne.
do I hear a motion to adjourn Ways and Means?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
All right.
Second.
Thank you,
All right.
guys. Thanks, Lisa. All right, old business, we have none. New business, we have none. Miscellaneous matters, Shannon, an administrative
Shockingly,
update.
I still have something to say.
Thank you for
However,
our
I've
guests for
used a
sticking
minute.
around for that very long conversation about budget, so appreciate it.
Mayor Ramadan, thank you very much. I have one very critical update, and that is today marks the beginning of Municipal Clerks Week, Appreciation Week. So we need to be very appreciative of Carson. I am very appreciative of Carson, but she is absolutely just a valuable person.
Look, we've
for
loved
the
on her
city.
too much tonight. I don't want to go into her head.
Well, as she types up all these minutes, I want her to rehear it.
Me.
And then I'll close with a reminder that May 9th, we are hosting a public meeting on behalf of the county. The county is running the meeting, but it is to talk about the capital sales tax. So that we'll be here in council chambers. You are all invited. None of us in the office immediately know how to use the social media, but we are finding that out. Please keep Beth in your prayers. She's dealing with a death in the family, but we will get that and get it out on social media tomorrow.
If you're putting it on social, or if you have like a PDF, you can just email us and then maybe we can
for the sales tax.
share it as well.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be great. I think that's a great educational session for us to encourage all of our neighbors and everybody to come. There's so much misinformation about that, so I think that's great, yeah. I just had a couple of miscellaneous things. So, again, thanks to our chiefs for the music series kickoff, and Carson and Renee and Beth kind of doing all the planning. It was rainy, but we had a good first night. And then we also, maybe it was the second farmer's market of the season, but we had the naming dedication for Margie Vest on Saturday, and that was really great. And then also, while we're thinking about the gazebo, so for an update for council for the Dicey Langston statue, I'm like 95% sure we're going to get her paid for this year. So I think that'll help us as we're thinking about that capital improvement plan for 2026. The goal was to kind of have Dicey statue paid for by private donations. So I'm hoping that happens this year. And so just thought you guys would appreciate an update on Dicey. And there's also another group that's curious, just for your information, the Charters of Freedom. You can look it up, where it's basically a display of the Bill of Rights, Constitution, that's also interested in putting in Travelers Rest somewhere. So I think that'd be another kind of cool historical add-on to the city. So,
What's it called, Brandy?
Charters of Freedom. They have it in Georgetown. If you go to the beach this summer, they have a really cool display, and it's a nice tourist attraction, but might go well with all the other educational pieces. Cool. Does anybody have anything else for the good of council?
I'm done. Motion to adjourn.
All right, Grant's done. Stick a fork in him. Lisa, second. All right, all in favor? All right, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for our staff for sticking around as well. That was a long one, but all good things.
Big